Right now, across Florida, condo owners are opening letters that demand $10,000, $40,000, sometimes more than $100,000 with hard deadlines attached. For many of them, that single bill is bigger than the entire down payment they made on the unit, and the letter is completely legal. Miss the payment, and your own association, your own neighbors, can put a lien on your home and eventually foreclose on it. Thousands are learning this right now. These letters are called special assessments, and here is the strange part. Almost nobody, not even longtime owners, saw their own letter coming. But the number inside was hiding in plain sight for decades, sitting quietly in a document that most owners never opened, never questioned, never read. In Miami-Dade County alone, monthly association fees have climbed 59% in just 5 years, and Tampa led the entire nation in increases. Nationally, about 21.6 million households pay condo or homeowner association fees every single month, and the national average is $355. In coastal Florida, the average is 463, and in parts of Miami, the fees now exceed a full quarter of the mortgage payment itself. And when owners try to escape by simply selling, many discover something worse. The letter followed the unit itself, not the person who happened to own it. So, to understand why all of this is happening right now, you have to go back to one single night in June of 2021. At 1:22 in the morning on June 24th, Champlain Towers South, a 12-story condominium in Surfside, Florida, partially collapsed while its residents were sleeping. 98 people died that night. It remains one of the deadliest building failures in modern American history, and it changed everything that came after. Investigators found years of deferred maintenance, and they found reserve funds that were never anywhere near large enough to pay for the repairs engineers had already flagged. So in 2022, Florida passed sweeping new legislation, and here is the twist almost nobody remembers. Owners and lawmakers did not fight it. They welcomed it. Under the new law, every building 3 stories or taller faces mandatory structural inspections, called milestone inspections. Once it reaches a certain age, no exceptions allowed. And every association must complete something called a structural integrity reserve study. And then, for the first time ever, actually put that money aside every single year. The deadline for those milestone inspections arrived in December of 2024, and the enormous backlog of findings is landing in owners' mailboxes right now. Analysts now expect special assessments to peak between 2026 and 2028, as years of inspection results slowly work their way through the entire system. And look, the safety logic is hard to argue with, because nobody ever wants another Surfside. But the law exposed a secret that was 40 years old. Because the real problem was never the inspections themselves. The real problem was what those inspections were about to reveal about the money behind it all. Before Surfside, one widely cited estimate found that only 5 to 10% of Florida condo associations had properly funded reserves in place, and roughly half had no reserves whatsoever. $0 saved for roofs, for elevators, for concrete, for plumbing, in buildings aging beside the ocean year after year. And this is the answer that was hiding in plain sight. For decades, Florida law allowed owners to simply vote to waive their reserve contributions entirely. So boards kept monthly fees artificially low year after year, because low fees kept the owners happy, and low fees kept every unit easy to sell on the open market. Because every single year of a waived reserve was really a loan taken out against the future, and the collapse simply called that loan due. Then insurance made everything worse. Florida Association premiums now run roughly 181% above the national average, and they are still climbing today. So the letter in the mailbox is really 3 bills in one: decades of skipped savings, mandated repairs, and exploding insurance, all arriving at the exact same time. And the buildings hit hardest all share the same profile: built in the 60s through the 80s, near the coast, concrete construction, with maintenance deferred for decades. Many of those units are worth between $150,000 and $300,000, and some of these assessments now approach the unit's entire value. Which brings us right back to the owners who tried to escape by selling and then watched as the sale itself quietly died in front of them. When the cost of repairs starts to approach what the building is worth, analysts have started using a chilling new phrase, the condo cliff, and it is spreading. Moody's and housing researchers are now warning that some older buildings are becoming effectively unsellable at any reasonable price in any reasonable amount of time. Here is the mechanism behind it. Most buyers need a mortgage, and most mortgages need approval from one of two giant institutions, Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. And those agencies do not just underwrite the buyer anymore. They quietly underwrite the entire building, standing behind the unit, top to bottom. If an association saves less than 10% of its dues in reserve, the entire building can be labeled non-warrantable and effectively frozen out. If more than 15% of the owners fall 60 days behind on their payments, same result. The building lands on a lender blacklist overnight. This is why the sale dies. It usually arrives as a phone call. The buyer's financing just collapsed and the deal is suddenly gone. A non-warrantable label shrinks the pool of possible buyers down to cash only, and prices fall to whatever cash decides it wants to pay. And you can see it clearly in the data. Florida condo prices fell nearly 11%, while single-family homes fell under 4% in the same period. Starting August 3rd, the limited review shortcut disappears. Nearly every condo loan in the country will now require a full review, and Florida is only the preview. Here is the part almost nobody realizes. Only 11 states in America require associations to set aside reserves at all. The rest simply run on trust. And in March, national reporting found the same pattern spreading. Buyers moving into communities with underfunded reserves, and then getting hit with assessments within months of arriving. Some communities far outside Florida are now facing assessments of $40,000 to $60,000 per unit in places nobody would ever expect it. In Canada, owners near Toronto opened notices warning of possible $70,000 assessments on their aging towers. It is the same math under a different flag. Nearly half of all American homes listed for sale now carry association fees, and around 3 million households are paying over $500 every month and climbing. The average fee nationally is $355, but averages hide the extremes because reported assessments have now exceeded $140,000 per unit. Every aging building in every state is quietly running the same experiment Florida just finished running. What actually happens when the savings turn out to be fiction? The only difference is that Florida was legally forced to check its buildings. Most other states, to this day, still have not looked, which means the most valuable skill any owner or any buyer can have right now is simply knowing how to read the documents themselves. And one determined group of Florida owners just proved something important. Those same boring documents can also be used to fight back. At Summit Towers in Hollywood, Florida, owners organized against a $56 million special assessment, and they actually got results from doing it. Their lesson is simple. An assessment is a board decision built on documents, and documents can be questioned, audited, and sometimes even beaten. So if you already own, request the reserve study, the full budget, and the engineer's reports, because you are legally entitled to every one of them. Then check one number first, the percentage of the reserve recommendation that is actually funded. Anything below 70% is a serious warning sign for you. And if you are buying, treat the association's finances exactly like you would treat the roof. Inspect everything carefully before you ever sign anything at all. Ask for the milestone inspection, the reserve study, the meeting minutes, and any planned assessments. Because in this market, silence is itself an answer. Because a cheap unit sitting on top of an empty reserve fund is not actually cheap. It is simply a bill with a move-in date attached. The letters are going to keep coming through 2028. But the owners who read the documents first will never be caught off guard. Because the $100,000 letter was never really about repairs at all. It was about decades of everyone quietly pretending that buildings never grow old. On January 4th, 2027, the reserve bar lender's demand rises again from 10 to 15%. And that story comes next on this channel.